Who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? MickeyMemorial. Hey there, hi there, ho there, you're as welcome as can be. MickeyMemorial. Mickey Oxler. Mickey Oxler. Forever let us hold our banner high.
Hi, hi, hi.
Come along and sing the song and join the jamboree. M-I-C.
See you real soon.
K-E-Y.
Why? Because we like you.
O-X-L-E-R.
Well, my favorite Mickey story is the time Jerry and I rigged a microphone in Mickey and Pat's bedroom so we could listen to their conversations. I had come across an old public address amplifier from Uncle Chuck from the old hardware store down on Warnell. And I was playing with it, and I thought for a minute, there might be a way I could use this to bug Mickey's room. So in Mickey and Pat's room, between the two twin beds, Mom had a lamp that had a kind of a pot in the middle of it with a styrofoam and a bunch of plastic flowers. So I was able to take the styrofoam, pick it up, and gouge out an area on the bottom and mount a small speaker. Then ran a wire outside the window into our bedroom, hooked it up to the amplifier, and the amplifier then up to a speaker. And so for about a week, Jerry and I were listening to Mickey and Pat talk bad about Mom and Dad and everything else that was going on. So then we had this idea that we could reverse that around and maybe turn use the speaker to say things, maybe scare them. So we did that, and then I'd hooked up a microphone, and I kind of went, ooh, Mickey and Pat. Well, then we reversed it real quick, and we could listen to them, and they were scared, like, what's that? Who is that? So we would constantly, just for about a week, do little one-word things, Mike and Pat, and scared the hell out of them for several weeks. We had a great time with that, and that's my favorite Mickey story.
My best friend since high school has been Mary Oxler. Over all these years, I've wondered how she could be so normal and her brothers, well, not so much. I remember the first time Mary invited me over to the Red Barn for dinner. I drove all the way from Raytown by myself. My mom thought she lived in Kansas City. She never would have let me drive to Grandview. I rang the doorbell and waited, and then I heard Mary's mom yell, "Mike, get the door!" All of a sudden, the door opened up, and there stood this little kid, staring at me and eating an ice cream cone. That may not seem odd, but the cone was filled with the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. It was filled with yellow mustard. I thought, what a weird little kid.
I have so many memorable moments with Mickey, and growing up with four brothers, it's hard to pick my favorite. There was the getting chalk out of the hall at the Red Barn, cutting the drywall. There was engraving his name in the dining room table. There was shaving his eyebrows off. But my all-time favorite is the chicken up the sweeper story. He and Jerry were feeding the chickens we had won at the pool, and they were chasing him with the tank sweeper. And unfortunately, instead of sucking up the seed, they sucked up the chicken. And of course, according to Jerry, it was Mickey's chicken. That's probably my favorite.
My favorite Mickey story goes back to Redbridge Shopping Center when they had the playground there. And Jamie Hess hooked up with Mickey, and the two of them weren't getting along very well. They were about to have a fight, but Jamie says, well, now, wait a minute. You got two friends here, and I want to wait till my friend gets here. So I show up about 10 minutes later. Jamie says, I don't like this guy. We're about to fight, and you got to keep these guys off. And I said, Jamie, we got a problem. I said, blood's thicker than water, and that's my cousin, and there ain't gonna be no fight. And it's the biggest fight that never was.
Of Mickey Oxler by Sally Lloyd. All of you who were there will remember the famous trek of the Oxler family up to Clinton, Iowa to see the Lloyd cousins, sometime in the late 1950s. I don't remember what year it was. I think Mickey was about 7. That summer, Papa drove Aunt Harriet and all 7 kids from KC to Iowa for the grand visit. According to Aunt Harriet, Papa went back to KC about 24 hours later when he realized that the bedlam of her 7 and our 8 kids combined was too great to bear, especially given that we had only a 1,400 square foot house. Mom and Aunt Harriet were fairly keen on encouraging us to go out and explore and to get out of their hair. So one fine afternoon, Mickey, along with Jack, Chuck, and myself, went over to this wonderful cemetery that was about 3/4 of a mile from our house. Springdale Cemetery was huge and filled with great old headstones, monuments, trees, and pathways. We hiked all over the place that day and eventually took Mickey to a cave in the hillside of the cemetery. We called it a cave, even though it was actually a man-made storage structure of some kind. It consisted of 3 deep rooms, shotgun style, that were dug back into a steep hillside. In anticipation of exploring the cave, we had 1 weak flashlight with us. As you progressed through, it got darker and darker, and to our young minds was getting pretty creepy and spooky. All the rooms were empty, or so we thought. That day, as we approached the last room of the cave, we saw something on the floor, deep in the darkness. It was a large silver box, a man-sized metal box with a lid. Of course, we had to approach it, and of course, we had to dislodge the lid and peek in. Our little flashlight really wasn't very bright, but we already knew what was in the box. It had to be a dead body. We got one quick look, and then we tore out of the cave and ran all the way back to our house, sweaty and excited. Mickey let everyone there know what we had found, and the rest of that visit, even though the adults and the older kids never believed him, Mickey kept saying over and over, "It really was a dead body. I know I saw a dead body. Why won't you believe me?" This is how I always think of my cousin Mickey. Fun to be around, always ready to try things, usually on the verge of trouble, but managing to hold back just enough not to get grounded for life, excited at a new discovery, and a willing partner when you wanted to go into a cave in the cemetery, even when you just knew something weird might happen. Mickey, the ultimate explorer. Sally Lloyd, July 2019.
Belton firemen look at the remains of a Ranchero truck which was involved in an apparent one-vehicle crash early last Wednesday morning at County Line and 71 Highway. The driver, Michael Oxler, 23, of Springdale Lake in Cass County, was pulled from the fiery wreckage just moments before by a Grandview patrolman, Jerry King. The patrolman was a block from the highway on 155th Street when he heard the sound of a crash and saw flames. He rushed to the scene and pulled Oxler out just as another explosion happened. The driver, who was northbound on 71 Highway when the accident occurred, was taken by the St. Joseph Hospital Life Flight helicopter to the St. Joseph Core Hospital, where his condition was stabilized, and then was taken by ambulance to the burn center at KU Medical Center. He was listed in critical condition yesterday with 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 30% of his body and a broken right arm. Oxler is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Gus Oxler, part owners of the Cy Young Hardware Store in Grandview, where he is employed. Patrolman King was not injured in the rescue.
Go ahead and try. Okay, story about how Mikey and I actually got together. We're celebrating my daughter Melissa's 21st birthday. Much to her chagrin, after we worked out and became a couple, he called her every year on her birthday and said, "Happy anniversary." And she had certain words to say, but she was happy for us. Love you, Mikey.
Okay, Dad took me to an Allman Brothers concert, and I didn't know who they were. And when we were in the crowd, they were playing, and Dad said, "I have a song request that I asked for you," and they played Sweet Melissa, and that was just the time that my heart melted, and I knew that he was going to be a positive influence in my life, and that I was going to love him forever no matter what. And it turned out to be very much the truth. I love you, Dad, and I'll miss you.
Well, folks, thanks for stopping by or tuning in. Here's just a little as to how I got to this stage in my life. I've lived a very full, active, and happy life, which is surprising when you consider that I've had over 40 hospital stays and surgeries along the way. I really appreciate all of my aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends that have come to visit and have supported me through all of this. Now, on to the real reason for this note. The last 21 years of my life have been the happiest because of Mel and our kids. They have accepted me with all my shortcomings and faults and loved me unconditionally, and I hope I've been worthy of your love and support. And thanks for the grandkids. They brought me more joy than I ever expected. Mom, I've loved you for 63 years, and I can't imagine what the last 40 years would have been like without you and Gussie. Don't worry about Gussie. I'll keep him riled up until you join us, but take your time. Love, Mike. Life is not a journey to the grave with the intentions of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to slide in sideways, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." Goodbye, old friend, and thanks so much for taking us along on this ride of yours. We'll see you soon.